I'd like to apologize for all the people who are waiting out in the hall for the public hearing on the Jefferson Code. We did say approximately, yes. Please go green. We said approximately 7, we would return, and we will be on approximately, but we do apologize. So I would like to entertain a motion to recess the meeting for the purpose of the hearing on the Jefferson Code.
So moved. Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, so we're officially recessed until we finish up the hearing on the Jefferson Code. Ms. Branford?
Good evening.
Good evening.
So I'm just here to entertain any questions that you all have regarding any of the changes submitted. Most of the ones that we submitted were trying to move towards a restorative justice as best we could with the current code of conduct. So moving some of those pieces in that direction. So major things like changing the offense column to become behavior instead. And then everything kind of falls into line after that.
Okay, any questions from Ms.
I just thank you very much for the efforts in terms of making it more suitable for the restorative justice model. I'm just wondering, excuse me, going forward, do you have plans then next year of just continuing?
Yes, we'll be continuing trying to do that to the best of our ability. We'll also, I want to try and set up, maybe a subcommittee to try and look at maybe a total restructure, if that would work or not. Currently, it's kind of bulky in terms of how we make changes. And so, there's only really one thing we can change per meeting. So that's another thing that we'll need to look at as well, seeing what we can do to make it move a little faster in that direction.
Mr. Shaughnessy?
So I still have a question about the failure to practice safe road crossing. Because I was thinking about that, we have parents that drop off their kids along Broadway, and that's going to continue next year, right? I mean, the front entrance is still going to be the main entrance. So if someone's coming up at 7:30 in the morning and dropping off their child at, directly across from the entrance to the high school, and the child is going to have to either walk down, a half a block either way to a crosswalk in order to cross without getting an offense, there's going to be a lot of complaints about that. And I don't think it's going to, it doesn't seem to me to be really workable. That's just my comment.
Shouldn't the parents be expected to follow the laws using a crosswalk for their children? Should set that expectation with the code of conduct.
Well, for many years we had a policy that cell phones weren't allowed in schools. You weren't allowed to bring your cell phone to school. Did parents have an expectation that we would enforce that?
No, I think crosswalks are a little bit older than cell phones, but.
The only thing I can comment regarding that is when it was proposed to the committee, the idea was to really open up a conversation with the administrator who would call the student in, not necessarily for punishment purposes. They're definitely not looking for more work, I would imagine. So, more of a conversation of like, what is safe procedure in order to cross the street to make sure that everyone is safe. And I know that is brought to the administrator's attention from the city as well.
Questions or comments? Could we request that the district notify parents they should drop their child off at a crosswalk?
Mrs. Highbacker? There's only only 2 crosswalks. And you have red lights.
Drop off at the only the side that faces the, right on the high school then.
I just don't think it's going to work.
Well, wasn't there some discussion as well about where this pertains to, like, is this on their whole walking route, like up by Dunkin' Donuts, is this just on Broadway?
I mean, technically, right, that it could be en route to school, back home, any of those, but what's enforceable would be what security is able to see right there. And it's more about, the security being able to say, hey, by the way, we want you to be safe, we don't want you to get hit by a car. So.
So just a comment, I appreciate the effort to integrate restorative justice in what Ms. Jordan was saying, and I hope that we can continue to move in that direction to make it even more kind of accommodating for a new way of thinking about creating culture, a supportive culture in our high school.
Having served on the Jefferson Committee for several years, I do appreciate that you made the wording changes there. Changes the tone, the way the code reads. So, and moving forward, I, for one, would be very happy if we had more restorative practices in outcomes. So it's a conversation for a future year,
Absolutely.
but I think we need to continue to do that.
Yeah, I do agree that the change of those 2 words really changes the tone of the entire code, and is in line with the changes in approach to discipline that we are trying to foster with our restorative code of conduct changes that we made in the overall code of conduct. So, appreciate that.
Any other questions or comments? I'll entertain a motion.
I can just have a comment. I want to thank Ms. Bradford first, and we kind of, as she took this over as one thing, and we kind of threw something completely different at her and the entire Jefferson Committee with very little warning, so I appreciate the kind of gearing up and getting ready to take on this challenge as we move to a different form of discipline, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
No problem. All right. Well, then if there are no more questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion to leave recess and reconvene public session.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And so coming out of executive session, before we entertain that resolution pertaining to the Jefferson Code, we have a couple of resolutions coming out of executive session. Are these the? Okay, resolution BOE 92, Assistant Superintendent for Elementary Education. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of Dr. Paul J. Palomino, Superintendent of Schools, that Dr. Stacia Felicello is hereby appointed as an Assistant Superintendent for Elementary Education effective July 1, 2017, and extending until June 30th, 2020. And be it further resolved that the Board President is authorized to execute a contract of employment with Dr. Felicello, setting forth the terms and conditions of her employment during the period from July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2020, a copy of which contract shall be incorporated by reference within the minutes of this meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Comment? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention. Resolution BOE 93, Assistant Superintendents and Deputy Superintendents. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of Dr. Paul J. Padalino, Superintendent of Schools, that the Board of Education approve amendments to the contracts of employment of the following administrators establishing their salaries for the 2017-2018 school year. Mary Beth Bondell, Assistant Superintendent for Secondary Education. Wilfred LaForester, Assistant Superintendent for Special Education. Alan Olson, Deputy Superintendent for Human Resources and Business. John Verge, Deputy Superintendent for Teaching and Learning. And be it further resolved that the board president is authorized to execute the amendments to the contracts of employment of the above administrators, which contract amendments shall be incorporated by reference within the minutes of this meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. And continue. P-134, professional personnel. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of Dr. Paul J. Catalino, Superintendent of Schools, that the board hereby appoints Andrew Schieber to a 4-year probationary term as middle school principal in the middle school principal tenure area, effective July 1, 2017, and terminating on July 30th, 2021, at an annual salary of $120,000, professional SBL certification. Be it further resolved upon the recommendation of Dr. Paul J. Catalino, Superintendent of Schools, that the board approves the leave of absence from his position of Vice Principal at Kingston High School, effective July 1st, 2017 to June 30th, 2018. I'll entertain a motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? P-145. Bulldozing through everything, I apologize. We will now allow for
Clap.
P-145, professional personnel. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of Dr. Paul J. Catalino, Superintendent of Schools, that the board hereby appoints Catherine Petrie to a 4-year probationary term as elementary school principal in the elementary school principal tenure area, effective July 1st, 2017, and terminating on June 30th, 2021, at an annual salary of $108,000, initial SBL certification. Be it further resolved upon the recommendation of Dr. Paul J. Catalino, Superintendent of Schools, that the board approves her resignation from her position as Assistant Director, effective June 30th, 2017.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Is this feature?
She is.
P-146. Be it resolved that Vincent DeSico be appointed as acting vice principal at Kingston High School effective July 1st, 2017 to June 30th, 2018, at an annual salary of $127,500, permanent certification. Be it further resolved that Vincent DeSico be granted a leave of absence from his position as assistant principal effective July 1st, 2017 to June 30th, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Mr. DeSico? P-147, professional personnel. Be resolved upon the recommendation of Dr. Paul J. Catalino, Superintendent of Schools, that the board hereby appoints Kimberly Terwilliger to a 4-year probationary term as Assistant Director of Special Education in the tenure area of Assistant Director of Special Education, effective July 1, 2017, with a probationary period ending June 30th, 2021, at an annual salary of $120,963, SDA permanent certification. And be it further resolved upon the recommendation of Dr. Paul J. Catalino, Superintendent of Schools, that the board approves an unpaid leave of absence for Ms. Twilliger from her position of Vice Principal at MC Miller Middle School, effective July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Ms. Twilliger? And P-148, professional personnel. Be it resolved that Geetha George Shapiro be appointed as an acting assistant principal at Kingston High School effective July 1st, 2017 to June 30th, 2018, at an annual salary of $98,000, initial SBL certification. Be it further resolved that Geetha George Shapiro be granted a leave of absence from her position as elementary teacher effective July 1st, 2017 to June 30th, 2018.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Now we have to go
First of all, obviously, I want to congratulate the administrators who are going to be really staying with us in the positions, and I want to thank them for many of them coming into these positions at a very odd time of the year and doing a phenomenal job. And I want to really welcome Kate Petrie, because this is your this is your full year coming up, so congratulations to you. Mr. Schieber over at Miller has been there, doing a great job, and we're very pleased to be able to, obviously these are all familiar faces to us. Mr. DeSico, who steps up and does anything and everything we ask him to do, is going to be an excellent vice principal. I appreciate his efforts. And Ms. Shapiro coming out of the classroom, helping at Kingston High School, kind of following from elementary into high school, like Ms. Fitzgerald did. They're a great team. I'm pleased that the board supported those recommendations, and I look forward to working with them next year.
And I guess, in the spirit of equity, we should go back to the assistant superintendent.
I think they're all.
And give it Thank you very much. Okay, and now we're back to the OE 91, which is the Jefferson Code. Okay, so I'll entertain a motion for the OE 91.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion?
I'd like to amend the resolution to remove level 1, add failure to practice safe road crossing. And the following sentences will become level 1 to the 13th.
Do we have a second for that?
Second.
All right, so we'll vote on the amendment first.
And that's something, if we want discussion, I just think it needs a little more thought before we go ahead with that.
Is there anyone else to? Okay, then we're voting on the amendment to the resolution, which is removing level 1, failure to practice safe road crossing.
I just have a question.
Yeah.
So do you want to refer it back to the Jefferson Committee?
Well,
to-
it's up to them to do it, if they want to. Because this was an addition, this wasn't part of the restorative justice approach. This was something that was added in. Maybe it's a discussion that we can have with the mayor. Maybe, he wants here and Dredden Field, maybe we can get crosswalks at our driveways. In the spirit of cooperation.
I'd just like to maybe make a comment, because I know that that came back to us at policy, or came up at the policy committee meeting, and we referred it back and asked for clarification. I think by nature, it's just very vague. I think if I have to vote, however, I feel like if the administration or security wants it, perhaps we should support that. I do understand, we have a huge part of our campus, but I feel like they came to us and they asked that for a reason. I know there have been some accidents where students have been hit. So we asked them for clarification, I just don't know if we ever really got. Right, but I don't know if it was in Mr. Shaughnessy's opinion, if it was very clear. I will support it because I feel like if the administration asked for it, they need it.
Yes.
Well, in discussions at Jefferson Committee, it was communications among City Hall to our administration that motivated this to be implemented. So it was a cooperative community thinking.
I appreciate what I can see the chaos, so I understand the need for this. I appreciated what she said about it being more of a conversation with kids, that not so much like you're in trouble for crossing the road this way, but like let's talk about how to make it safe. So that to me makes it more palatable. I think so. As long as it's really taken that way.
Oh, sorry, Reverend Johnson.
I think that we still can say that we want to have them cross properly, etc., but we can still take out the level 1, I won't call it offense, the whatever you want to call it, but behavior. We can still take it out, because I don't know how it's going to be enforceable either. That's going to be difficult. And I understood that we did talk to the city administration and that they were not going to put extra crosswalks in the middle of the street, so. I don't know how it's gonna be enforced, so I think we can still pass this, have the same effect. I would assume that the leadership at the school will still try to get the kids to obey the law and do what they should do, but it shouldn't be a penalty.
Mr. Shaughnessy.
I was thinking I live down near George Washington School, and on Washington Avenue, there are flashing yellow lights, school zone 15 miles an hour, you know, and those are put up by the city. Those are not school district signs or flashing lights. And there's nothing like that on Broadway, and that's, you know, I just think there's more accommodation that can be made on the part of the city. You know, they're complaining about it, then they need to come up with a better solution than telling kids to walk a half a block.
Perhaps a reduced speed limit. Signage.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay, so any other discussion about the amendment, which is taking that out, level 1, failure to practice safe road crossing. Any further discussion on that? So we're voting on the amendment. All those in favor of taking out level 1, the failure to practice safe road crossing, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Here's one.
All right. So now we're back to BOE 91 minus that phrase, failure to practice safe road crossing. So all those in favor of BO1 minus that level 1 offense behavior. Culture shift. Please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, so the motion carries. And now we are to the portion of the agenda, district recognitions, and this is Heidecker. Thank you.
Tonight I have 2 athletes of the month to present to you. The first is Emily Jacobson. She is, you can stand up, Emily, if I read a little thing about you. She's senior and she's captain of the high school's first ever varsity girls golf team. And she's our June female athlete of the month. Before she joined the golf team, Emily was an avid soccer player and she also played rugby, but an accident forced her to sideline any contact sports for the rest of her high school career. So she decided she would do something different, and she helped found the golf team and serve as the captain. And she ended up with the second best scoring average on the team and led the team to a win in the final match, shooting a 51, the lowest score of the season. So congratulations, Emily. Sorry. All right. And our second athlete of the month is Scott Pinschulte. He is a junior and captain of both the KHS varsity golf and varsity swimming team. He recently earned an impressive title, champion of the Orange County Interscholastic Athletic Association golf tournament with a score of 5 over par 75. He went on to place 6th at the Section 9 championships, and he is 41st in all of New York State. You're laughing because I don't know what that means. I need to say it right? Okay. You can teach me. In addition to golf, Scott also has an impressive swimming career. This past season at the Section 9 championships, he was 5th in the 100 butterfly and 9th for the 50 free. Recently recognized for achieving highest honors academically, Scott plans to pursue biomedical engineering when he graduates in 2018. Congratulations, Scott.
Thank you, Mrs. Heidenberg. Congratulations. And now we've reached the first opportunity for public participation. If you would like to address the board, please approach the podium and speak directly into the microphone so that it will be clear on the live stream. 2 minutes, and it's not a conversation.
I'll be very brief.
Thank you.
Allow me to read. Good evening, Mr. Pavilion and board members. My name is Deborah Tampone. and I am a photography teacher at Kingston High School. My colleagues and I have been waiting patiently to learn about the future plans of our department. We have not been able to get definitive answers because we have been told that the plans have not yet been discussed. However, yesterday, the architects made a visit to our wing. They informed us that the plan is to remove both darkrooms that already exist in the basement of the main building. They were not aware that we have an existing, fully functioning, community-acclaimed darkroom program. I assumed that this space was to be our new home of the current darkroom, especially since I also teach digital photography, and that same room is also equipped with a digital lab. A few questions which I am requesting a written response. My questions are, why take down an existing functioning darkroom space, which costs money to do? Is the darkroom program in danger of being cut? Will our department have an opportunity to discuss and revise decisions that concern our programs? If so, when will we have that opportunity? When can I expect to receive a response to these questions? And my email is at the bottom. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to address the board at this time? Okay, hearing no one, we'll move along to the minutes of May 3rd, 2017. I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes of May 3rd, 2017.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any corrections or amendments to minutes? All right. Hearing none. All those in favor of accepting the minutes of May 3rd, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. The minutes of May 17th, 2017, I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes of May 17th.
So moved.
Okay. Any amendments, corrections to the minutes of May 17th? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of accepting the minutes of May 17th, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. That brings us to the portion of the agenda where I turn the floor over to Dr. Catalina for the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just before I go into the superintendent's report, I did neglect to congratulate and welcome Dr. Falcello, because she's been with us for a whole year, so I'm kind of used to her, and I take her for granted being in central office. So I'm sorry that I forgot to congratulate you. First, we have the superintendent's report. So we have a presentation from Dave Brownstein and Wild Earth, one of our community partners. Welcome.
Thank you all for having me back again. I think I was with you a couple of years ago, and I'm excited to be back. Thank you. Let's see if we're going to get there.
Just gotta give me a sec. Just give it a minute. It's gonna warm up.
What's that?
It's like a special effect.
Oh, yeah. That should be. Great. Thank you again. Wild Earth leads transformative nature immersion experiences that cultivate character, confidence, passion, and perseverance in New York's youth. We're so pleased to have partnered with the Kingston City School District for the past 3 years. Let me show you what we have done together.
Normally, I don't spend much time in nature. I don't spend that much time in the woods.
I'm like that. I don't really go outside because now everyone's on their phones and electronics.
My mom doesn't really like this kind of stuff, so this is a different experience for me, and I feel like I'm at home.
We have a very diverse population of students. We have African American, Latino, but I think the biggest disparity is the socioeconomic. We have kids who come from families where they may have a parent in jail. They don't necessarily know if they're going to even eat when they go home tonight.
A lot of our kids are from the inner city, and they don't have the experiences with families to go out and venture into the woods. So the Wild Earth program is a first for many of them, and unfortunately, sometimes a last.
A couple I noticed when they got off the bus, they had the body language and the facial expressions as if they were kind of too cool for a program like this, and it was this complete transformation within the first 10 minutes of the program.
Some of the things we've done today is build a fire. We played in the mud.
Ooh, I'm done.
We played a bunch of games.
3, 2, 1.
Looking for animals, finding different types of plants.
No, this isn't a Venus flytrap, it's something else.
I got a new best friend.
And look in the soil to see if you see any scats.
Go, Manny.
Do you notice anything?
I love the deer ears. Every one of you is going to get a rock. Get to know your stone. We build into our curriculum things that go on from Wild Earth. It gives them the opportunity to be creative and allowing them to say, wow, I can do that. It gives them confidence.
They're used to the video games, they're used to this interacting through text messages. It's face-to-face interaction in an environment where they are learning to trust each other. And I think what they're doing out there will translate to academic success back in our building.
What I like about the woods is that everything is peaceful. It's only wildlife, music of birds, beautifulness.
My parents and I don't have a lot of money, and I just go into nature, and I just feel like I just can let everything out, all of my feelings and everything.
If you feel really calm, you can hear different animals. You can even hear the smallest twig snap.
We're buddies! Yeah!
This field trip is the awesomest, greatest, coolest, adventurous field trip ever.
The Wild Earth program and their staff has been hugely popular with our staff here. Quite honestly, I would like to see it continue all the way through their time here at the middle school.
I feel like I want to come here every day.
Wild Earth!
This past year, every 5th and 6th grader at both Miller and Bailey, over 1,000 students were treated to a day like this in the woods with Wild Earth, the program you just saw. For fifth graders, it is an especially important opportunity for team building, just as they are arriving from different elementary schools the prior year. Your teachers have told us that our program levels the playing field, as students who are leaders in the woods are not necessarily the same ones who are academic leaders in the classroom. For students with special needs, teachers have said they had no idea their students were capable of so much. This year, we really saw your students shining at Wild Earth, and we wanted to have more contact with them. So this past spring, Wild Earth led a guided recess and after-school program at Miller. Every Wednesday, 5th and 6th grade students came out, this is at Miller Middle School. Every Wednesday, 5th and 6th grade students came out to the playground and were met with Wild Earth's inspired instructors leading 6 choice-based activities. On this day, students could choose to participate in a nature museum, juggling, drumming, weaving with natural materials, or learning about plants and wildflowers. For those who need more physically engaging activities, we lead a fast-moving ball game. After school, up to 40 students get an additional dose of Wild Earth. During the guided recess and after-school program, we saw tremendous engagement, interest, and desire from Miller students, with a waiting list at our after-school program each week. Importantly, every student is given the opportunity to engage in a way that meets their needs, or to not engage at all. Wild Earth's 7 instructors, the same ones the children meet in the woods at our field trip, are able to give very personal attention to students needing it and to begin to build trusting, mentoring relationships. So what you're not seeing here, which was really interesting on the day we visited, was one student was sitting by himself on the bench, and one of our instructors who was handling the wild edibles and plants got a chance to just sit with that one child and have a one-on-one experience and talk. Those are magical moments that rarely happen at school. So you never know what can happen when something like that goes on. After 3 years of successfully piloting our programs with your middle schoolers, we are excited to share the plans for an expanded 4-year project beginning this fall that will have every middle schooler receiving up to 20 contact days with Wild Earth and its leaders each year. Here's our plan. 2 full-day field trips. So the field trip you saw, we'll do one in the beginning of the year called Back to School, Back to Nature, and then one at the end, which is a team building program, and one at the end of the year, which is more a celebration of their work together. Those field trips bookend the Wild Earth year for the students. And between these field trips, Wild Earth will be at Miller and Bailey 1 day each week for 18 weeks to lead a guided recess during the school day and an after-school program for 40 economically disadvantaged students. We plan to work with Kingston High School interns as instructors in training in delivering the program so that ultimately it's Kingston students who will deliver this to Kingston students. And to begin creating role model relationships between high school and middle school students. This program gets implemented over 4 years, so we start with the 5th grade next year, and we slowly build the 5th and 6th year after, add 7th, and then add 8th. Importantly, under the direction of the Benjamin Center at SUNY New Paltz, Wild Earth will be analyzing the outcomes and benefits of this program in improving the prospects for Kingston middle schoolers. We expect to disseminate this research widely and use this project as a model for other urban and underserved school districts throughout the region, state, and country. Finally, there's also a possible teacher development program day, which we're beginning to explore with the district, where teachers would actually have this experience as well to see how Wild Earth engages students in these ways. Here are the outcomes we expect. With a program of this scope and depth, Wild Earth believes that we can have the following effects on Kingston middle school students. We hope to develop and nurture their inner character, build inner confidence and willingness to take appropriate risks, enhance gratitude and empathy, and grow curiosity, passion, and purpose. We believe we can help strengthen and support their social health and well-being, encourage positive behavior both in the classroom and out, increase attendance and participation, and enhance relationship building and teamwork. And finally, and more overarching, is to begin to, or continue to regenerate healthy and whole communities in Kingston, encouraging leadership, good citizenship, and community service. Finally, allow me to just share a little gratitude. We are so grateful to Scenic Hudson, who donates the use of their old IBM Rec Center land, hundreds of acres of land in the town of Ulster for this program that you saw in the video. I also want to thank the Local Economies Project of the New World Foundation, providing the lion's share of the grant funding to support Kingston's investment in this program. Most of all, we're grateful to Dr. Padalino, Mary Beth Bonneville, all the principals and teachers and staff in the Kingston schools who see the value of Wild Earth in improving the outcomes and possibilities for Kingston students. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Any questions?
Well, I'm very excited about this, and it just shows how old I am, because when I first came to Kingston, we used to have the outdoor education program. And we were encouraged to use what we could in our environment to teach with. So it's interesting. Now I'm really old because it's come back. But I appreciate it, and I hope that you can expand it.
Well, I'm a huge fan, as you know, and I think the work is great, and I'm so excited to see it to expand into the guided recess and the after school, and then hopefully as it rolls out into the upper grades. And I have a 6th grader who participated in this, and he's a 5th grader and is a 6th grader, and I'm telling you, he looked forward to it all year long. He was so excited about it. But I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about the after-school program and exactly what it entails and how students are selected, and kind of just flesh that out a little bit more.
Yeah, it's still a process that we're going through. We're trying to look at the after-school program and have the principals actually, with the guidance counselor guidance, choose 40 students who are specifically going to get that extra dose of support 18 days a year. So we can really see what happens to kids who might really need this, a little extra dose of that support and that real one-on-one attention, because you can imagine when there's 40 kids and there's 7 Wild Earth instructors, you're doing a lot of one-on-one type of work. And that's where really cool things can happen for kids who need that mentoring. And so we're hoping to study that the same kids will be in that program throughout the year, and that we can kind of measure what happens with that.
Anybody else? We don't?
I'm a Woods girl, so this is true to my heart. And I have a client who goes to Miller Art Pickup every Wednesday. And I said one day, what are those people doing out there? And she said, those are the nature people. I just have one quick question. Are you completely grant funded? Is that how you operate? No.
No, we're partially grant funded. The school provides some of the money, and we are individual donations right now are supporting a lot of this.
And you run a summer camp outside of this district?
We run programs 280 days a year. So we are running all during the school year. So in some sense, your neighbors in New Paltz and High Falls and others are supporting this program. Some of them know it and some of them don't. But we're using extra funds. We're trying to create a community where we are actually supporting each other fully as a community, as an extended community.
Well, I really appreciate the program. I think it has great potential. I mean, you can just see the kids really enjoying it, and I think it's important and reinforces our efforts to improve the social, emotional health of our students. And I also very much like the cooperation between the school district and the not-for-profit, the Scenic Hudson, a foundation. You know, I think the getting out of the silos and into the pasture is a good outcome. Very, very, very needed.
I was just going to say, I hope that there is an expanded component for involving the teachers who are in the classroom with the kids, so that they can bring what you do into their classrooms more. I think that would really be to the advantage of the students, the faculty, and just the program in general.
Yeah, we really like to see them join, and you are also invited to a day at Wild Earth, so you can see what happens in the woods, because we all are kids when we're in the woods.
Well, I think, and we talked a little bit about how to involve teachers in other kinds of ways, which I think is important. The other thing that I think is really innovative about this that I really love is the high school.
Yeah.
And moving as the kids move up to high school and kind of bringing them back to work with younger students.
Yeah, something that you may not be aware of is that the plan is after this 4-year project, the 8th graders go on to 9th grade, and the ones who are most attuned to this kind of program will be invited back to mentor and deliver the program back to the younger ones, because they've gotten it and they've received it, and they tend to be the best teachers of it because it's naturally taught. We don't need to teach them how to do it, they already know how to do it. But in the beginning years, and maybe even extended, we're going to work with the Kingston High School internship program so that they come right in and we start training them right away to start doing this. So we're excited about that possibility.
Sorry.
Kate's here from Scenic Hudson.
Yeah, I'm Kate Phipps. I'm with the Education Department at Scenic Hudson. So I'm just here to support this. We're so happy that they do this programming. I've been lucky enough to actually go on a couple of the field trips and see, a full day of programming and see how it really does change students over one day. As an educator, I think it's fantastic, all that Wild Earth is doing, how they're trying to expand. And it's fantastic that the Kingston City School District is supportive of it. I think it's a really, really great thing. So we're really supportive of it.
Thank you so much.
And I thank you, David, for inviting us to come along, but I don't think you want me in the woods.
I would like to
work out. It's not really work out very well. Next, we have from Teaching at the Institute another community partner, Mr. David Levine.
Thank you.
Another David, yes.
Thank you. Mike, can we move this back a little feedback? There's going to be a little slideshow. I didn't want to block. Thank you. Well, I have to say, first of all, good evening to all of you. Nice to see you all, everyone here. But I wanted to say what an honor it is to come up here right after David's presentation. Though I personally have not been involved with Wild Earth, I know many children who have, and David and his colleagues have touched probably thousands of children in this way. So I think there's a true alignment to what I'll be about to share. So it's wonderful to hear what you're sharing, David. About a year ago, I stood here and I was presenting to you kind of like the birth announcement of the Teaching Empathy Institute. We were a brand new startup here in the Hudson Valley, focused on helping to create collaboratively school cultures with administrators, decision makers, school boards, teachers, parents, teaching assistants, everyone focused on why we're all here, which is the children in the community. And what I'd like to do this evening to share where we've come in this past year is I'll share it through a slideshow. And this slideshow we put together today, we wanted to show it because it was truly heartening this year to work collaboratively with and for the Kingston City Schools. This work we do, it's not us bringing a program in, it's coming in and listening and honoring this work we do with children in all the different roles we play. And so all of our work is focused on the idea of healthy, authentic, non-judgmental relationship building and teaching the young people by modeling through those relationships. And you'll see that in the slideshow in a moment. We started this year, we worked in a lot of different ways in the district, but our real pilot program with the children was at the Chambers Elementary School, focusing on the 4th graders, providing the supports, the skills, the conversation, the stories, the listening to help them as they looked ahead to this thing called middle school. And even the first month of the school year, when I asked them how many are already thinking about middle school, all their hands went up. And how many are nervous about your locker combinations? All hands went up. How many are thinking about what you're going to wear the first day of school? First month of school as 4th graders, this was on their mind. And this was our focus, to provide the support and the skills to help them manage the challenge of this transfer into the middle school experience. So before I start the slideshow, and I'll talk you through it as it's on, there's some people I just want to call a shout out to who were really instrumental in helping us be successful in the beginnings, the planning, the early conversations, and the implementation of the work with the children. I'm going to read their names here because they're all critical players in the success of the work we did at Chambers this year. Stacia Felsello, Joellen Gibbons, Kate Petrie, Jeffrey Tersch, Tanya Z, Kelsey Maraldi, Chelsea Harrington, Terry Zweifel, Cora Martin, and Colleen Connors. So thanks to all of you. I know you're not all here, but please tell them when you see them tomorrow that we really appreciate it. So Mike, if we could start the slideshow. And as I said, we started with the Chambers Elementary School this year. And we went into the classrooms, and these were the 4th grades. There were 3 4th grade classrooms, using music, dialogue, storytelling. And then Rachel, who's not here tonight, one of our educators, worked with the children to go within, really working on focusing within so they can listen to other people without. These are some of the experiences that we captured in some of our photos with them. That's Rachel right there. And together, the two of us, we ran workshops, professional development all year for teachers. We and other professionals in the district and teaching assistant professionals to over 282 professionals this year. This is a photo of one of those sessions. And the work that we do in those workshops is the same kind of work, as you'll see in a moment, that we do in the classrooms with the children. This is one of the groups, and in this process called Fishbowl, they're talking about social challenges, social issues. They're listening, they're processing. This is one of our experiences. The paper has a life story that a child writes down, and they're listening to one another, learning the skills, the feedback skills, the life skills, to listen, respond non-judgmentally. Again, building the relationship skills, the pro-social skills. Problem solving in teams, team building, problem solving, compromise, speaking, people are listening. This is one of them. We do a little role playing. That happens to be me right there in this role play. I was being made fun of and they were trying to cheer me up. And then we had the kids do it. This is a little example of walking around a beautiful crystal, and based on where you stand, you see a different dimension. It's a diversity experience. And the kids, they're always in this place of wonder as they listen to one another. The work we do, and it's also the work I know that David's doing, there's an imaginative process that takes place when you're in nature. And the nature we bring them to is the inner nature, going with them. In the spring, we brought every fourth grader from each of the 7 elementary schools to the Ashokan Center for Chambers, but also for all the fourth graders, to give them a focus, not just outdoor experience, but outdoor experience to explore the challenges of middle school, the challenges of working with different people who you're not used to seeing every day in your class in elementary school, new people, people maybe you don't know, and the connections that can be built when you are focused on unity, when you are focused on understanding each other and working together. Of course, I bring the music, and always, this was a session where I sang a song that was written by some students about being disconnected in middle school and the support. And I asked the students, have you ever felt this way, where you reached out to a new friend? And you can see these were some of the responses. They were highly engaged because these are real life experiences that we're talking about. It's not giving advice. As I always say to the students in these sessions, it's not about what's right or what's wrong, it's about what's real. And this is real life. And what's real life is when, this is Meg, by the way, our 3rd staff member of TEI. When we make connections with others, you can see it in their faces. There's a joy when people are not judging you, but listening to you. And there's also a joy when you're listening to others. And these are just some of the sort of spontaneous experiences that took place in the woods there at the Ashokan Center. These were some of the fairy houses that some of the students spontaneously built. Someone had an idea, let's do this, and they made it happen. And we always bring them back at the end of the morning. We cram a lot into 3 hours of contact time. But the essence of it is listening and talking about the challenges and the curiosities of what's coming their way. That's the essence of what this day and what this whole year was about for Chambers. So as you look at some of these other examples of the experiences, I'm going to just read some of the feedback. We sent feedback forms to every child and to every teacher, by the way, in the 4th grade. This student said, one thing I enjoyed was the human treasure hunt because it was fun learning about other people. One thing I learned is you can have fun and learn at the same time. One thing that would have made this trip better is having more time to spend here. One thing I learned is that people are made fun of because they're different, and the school drama that occurs. We talked about the realities of disconnect, the realities of being different, and rather than being celebrated, how people push you away. We had this conversation. We run the community meeting. We close the day out. This is when people articulate what's here on the sheet. One thing I learned was how to keep myself calm by closing my eyes and listening to the things around me. Just read a couple more. I enjoyed doing the groups on the field with having us pair up with 2 other students because I got to be with different kids. I learned many ways to be nicer, and I learned about students in my classroom and my grade. I'd like to have had the trip even longer because it was a lot of fun. Right? And so as we came to the end of the day, for the Chambers children, we gave them t-shirts, and on the back it sort of emphasized the message of the year: make a choice, leave a legacy. We emphasized so much this year that when you make a choice, it not only impacts others, but impacts you, and impacts how people see you. So we, as you may recall, we worked very closely with Columbia University Teachers College this year. Every event, every experience was evaluated. They came up and observed some of the work we did with the children in the school and wrote us some very strong feedback about consistency. I come from a very process-oriented approach, and they said, you really need to be consistent. I learned a whole lot through the evaluation process. We met yesterday, and it was a very promising and exciting conversation. And for the board and for Dr. Padalino, they'll be giving me a binder official report in early July. And I'll set up a time, I'll share that, I'll make that available, of course, to the school board, and I'll also seek to have a conversation about that. As we look ahead to next year, I'll just share some of the plans that we hold right now. Next Monday and Tuesday, we're having, and this is much thanks to Bill Forrester for helping set this up, we're going to be working with members, mostly members from most of the schools from the PBIS teams. We're creating a social and emotional learning specialist cadre. This year I traveled to cities around the country emphasizing this work, and one of the things I saw was they created these cadres at central administrative level rather than within the schools. And as I traveled to the schools, I saw a disconnect. So through conversation initially with Mr. Verge and then Dr. Padalino, we explored this, we put this together, and people volunteered. We have 20 folks coming to this cadre. It's going to be a 2-day specialist training to begin the process of building capacity within the schools to infuse this work. This work is most significant when it's infused rather than when it's prescriptive, when it's a program that you must do, but rather a way of thinking, a way of being, a consciousness. And our vision is that this group will hold that vision, hold that consciousness, and we'll be meeting with them 4 separate times during the school year. And I'll invite any school board members anytime. You'll have the calendar. If you ever want to attend any of these sessions for a full day or part of the day, always would love to have you be a part of that, not just to observe, but to be a significant player. We don't have a specific, we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. We have the opportunity to dialogue, explore, and collectively create what meets the needs of Kingston in the best way. Next year, our plan is to expand from 1 elementary school to 4 elementary schools. We are codifying the work we did with Chambers this year. Over the summer, we're creating it into a very formal curriculum, but we won't lose the essence of the process, but it will be focused on the things that the students responded to best. I mentioned some people up front, the fourth grade teachers at Chambers. We met with them every other week, and we met with them once during the year for a 3-hour session, and they gave us some very, very good feedback. For instance, we introduced the Legacy Project in April, and Jeff Tersh said, this was the best session. They responded so much to this, like the power they hold, that they can make a difference. You should start it with this. So the curriculum next year, we will start it. That'll be the theme throughout. Make a choice, leave a legacy. We also initially were meeting with the children every other week to honor the class time, the contact time. And the teacher said in December, we think it should be every week. We want them to have this flow. So there was this openness to making this happen. Of course, this was very pleasing to us. And they were infusing and integrating these ideas into their academic instruction and into their community building. So we'll take this codified, expand it to the 4 elementaries next year. We're also going to expand our professional development offerings as well. We have a new staff person on board. She's a specialist in literacy and writing, and we're going to be offering literacy training for teachers who would like to take this idea of social perspective training for children and build it into personal narrative writing and other writing reflective experiences. We'll be doing work on community building in the classroom, empathy development, some specific processes to enhance instruction while teaching pro-social skills. And Rachel will continue her work as well with mindfulness and self-regulation work with the adults, who were very highly responsive to this, very appreciative, but also bringing it into the classroom. The final piece that I'll mention is that this past year, we implemented a pilot here. It was a self-study podcast, social and emotional learning training program. These were called Little Talks That Make a Big Difference. And I met with the folks, the teachers. We went over the process. They listened to these over 8 weeks. We touched base throughout. We came together at the end, and it was very well received, and they really dove into it. The only feedback, they'd like to meet in the middle, and they'd like to be able to interact with the people who are also taking it throughout the course of the experience. So they were very engaged and very motivated. This coming year, I'm about to finish creating a story podcast curriculum to be piloted next year with 5th grade students on social and emotional decision making. It's an auditory experience to take away this screen dynamic of communication and looking at this, but listening intently to a little story that's ongoing, that are all true, that were all told to me by children in the past. And then there will be dialogue questions for the teacher, and then there will be a writing experience for each of those sessions. And we haven't had the meeting yet, but my hope is to pilot this for some 5th graders in 2 middle schools this year. We'll also be piloting it as a feasibility study around the country One final thing I'll say, I've been invited to speak and present at many national conferences looking at social and emotional learning and the most effective practices. And I've turned a lot down because I'm here working with the schools. I don't want to leave, but this next week I'll be in Nashville at a national conference, and I'll be speaking, and I'll be sharing all the work we did. I'll be sharing that slideshow. I'll be sharing all the work we've done in Kingston this year. I share this work we do here with the cities around the country. They listen, they're excited, they're very excited about this capacity building process that we're bringing in. One final piece is that the Omega Institute this summer will be running their 7th annual Mindfulness for Educators Conference, and I'll be on the staff for that, along with Daniel Goleman, who many of you have probably heard of, the author of Emotional Intelligence, Timothy Shriver, the head of the Special Olympics, and some other folks as well. And through my participation, we were given 6 full scholarships for Kingston City School District educators, and we put it out there, and they responded within a day. So we have 6 folks from the district who are attending this conference. So I want to thank all of you. I want to thank Dr. Padalina, going back to that January day with Mr. Burge back in January of 2016, where I actually was at 50, it was 16, talking about some ideas. And I'll never forget what you said. I said, I don't know, we can call it anything we want, this work of relationship development, and emotional safety, and life skills training. And you said, I know what we call it. We call this school. That's what schools should do. I never forgot. So that's our focus. That's where we hope to go. I will share with you in July the research, the solid research and evaluation. But from a soft perspective, meaning it's not written, I can tell you that I've seen the smiles on the faces of the children and the support and the encouragement we got from the teachers and from Kate at Chambers, and say that I feel we had a very successful year together, Kingston TBI. Thank you. Any feedback, questions?
I just have a question. Will there be any follow-up with your Chambers 4th graders when they're in middle school?
Nothing formal at this point is planned, but that is part of the process of wanting to do the feasibility study. We'll be having a meeting with the 2 middle school principals sometime this summer when their schedules allow. I would like to follow up with them as well. Absolutely.
And those cadres you talked about, the SEL specialist cadre, those are building level teams?
No, it's really like a district team, but they're representatives from each building. There's like 2 folks from each of the schools.
Are there representatives from each building?
There's one school we haven't yet received any participants from, but I was just talking to Bill. We're hopefully going to.
Okay, but the objective is to have representation from each of the buildings.
Yes, and not see this as a separate piece to PBIS, but as a mechanism. A lot of current research on SEL is saying that when you integrate social and emotional learning, it really has a profoundly positive effect on discipline, not so much discipline like discipline, but self-discipline. And that's the way that we're looking to integrate this in, to support that work that's already being done.
Could you remind us where the funding, the various funding sources for this are coming from?
Yes, we are funded. We were funded for 1 year, but we got it extended for 3 years. We were funded as a startup by the Tides Foundation, which is in San Francisco and a satellite office in New York City. And their work is really focused on social justice, equity, and honor for all people. And so they saw the work that I was doing for all of these years, many of those years here in Kingston as a consultant, and they wanted to support the efforts. And I said, let's do it in the Hudson Valley, and I'd like to focus it in Kingston.
Great.
Thank you. See you again.
Anybody else?
Thank you, everybody. Good to see you all again. Thanks to you this summer.
Lastly, for the superintendent's report, the Second Century Project, KSQ and BBL, and I'm going to promise KSQ and BBL that next time I'm putting you on first.
Next time.
Next time they're here. Oh,
Good evening. We're getting closer and closer and closer.
go through the whole, but in general, we're looking at an East Edition on Monday, furniture delivery, final clean, that looks like your school. We've even got, thanks to Tom and his crew, we've even got a few textbooks in the classrooms and that type of thing. But we can start with, what are we starting with? We can start with the second phase.
Yep. Again, thank you for having us tonight. My part will be short and sweet, and Robin will get into the updates on the project. We're working with KSQ still, the second phase. We're close, I'd say, Alex, we're probably a couple weeks away, beginning of July, of sending those documents up to State Ed to sit in their queue and then eventually get reviewed and comments back. Currently, they're about 9 months out, so sometime next spring we'll see where the project's headed with State Ed approval for the second phase. With that, Robin and Carly and a few other team members meet with Kirk and staff. Get some logistics of current stuff and then some future items. We'll have to work out some specific phasing for the second phase of Kirk and his team when we get a little bit closer. Contractor market, contractors are still calling, they're still excited about the projects here that are wrapping up for those involved, and for those that weren't involved, they're looking when the next round of bids will be coming out. So we're engaging the market and tracking that and keeping the contractor awareness and looking forward to starting the next phase. So with that, Robin, you want to hop into some highlights?
Is there anything you want to add? Okay, so for the construction progress updates, the phase 2 of the field house, at this point, the gymnasium floor has been demoed out, it's gone. The pool locker rooms are gone. There's a couple of block walls where they used to stand, but the lockers and the benches and the walls and the shower, everything has been demoed out. And then, of course, now we're going to start the put back. Some of the gym equipment is gone, the big partition wall in the gymnasium gone. And we're starting some of the mechanical, the duct work and moving along in phase 2. In main mechanical, we really have been very limited just to the work in the boiler room at this point, but next week we'll start loading the unit vents and some of the mechanicals, and we'll start the abatement for, within the classrooms for the equipment that's going to be installed this summer for the heating. Salzman Core, again, the East Edition, we're final clean is all the way down to the first floor. The elevators are tomorrow, they'll be turned over to the owner, and with training taking place. And we're going through punch list. Everyone understands. Punch list are just those little items that we think they could have done a better job with, and they're currently being addressed. Third floor down. Alex and his team have been on site for 2 days in a row straight.
We've had to coordinate with the contractors. Everybody's moving at different speeds. So we've had to trail them from the third floor down, come in as they're cleaning, take a break, allow them to clean, come back the next day. So we've been spending a lot of time on and off for the last couple of weeks here doing the punch list.
On the West Edition, we're about 3 or 4 weeks behind where we were for the East Edition. So we have flooring, VCT going on the first level with the fire alarm testing. We will have furniture delivery in the West Edition is scheduled for July 17th. So you can see the time frame between June 26th to July 17th is the east over to the west. MJM, school is done as far as we're concerned at this point, and we love the students being there, but it's great that they're not there right now, because now we're really concentrating on getting things done. We will be abating the breezeway between MJM and Salzman next week, or starting on the 26th, 28th, and then that breezeway will start to be demoed and to come down. We're giving Tom and his guys a few days to get everything all cleaned out of the classrooms and the library, and I know they've been doing it. They're working a tremendous amount of hours. this weekend to get everything out of our way so that we can continue. And then we're just going to we start again, like with everything else. We'll start with containment, we'll start with the abatement, and we'll then go on to the demo, and then put back and get everything ready for the kids when they come back in September. We're also working with Kirk to get him all of the plans for the buildings and the site, so he'll know exactly what's ready in September and where all of the egress and where people will come in and go out, and fire alarm and emergency and that type of thing throughout the campus. Again, we're working on getting the rooftop units on Salzman for this summer. Just a tremendous amount of work. Basically, Salzman outside of the cafeteria will be gutted this summer, and then the putback will start. And then in general, again, we're facing the 2016 or the 2017-18 work. We're doing a lot of testing and balancing, final cleaning, look ahead. We're doing sidewalk work right now. We're doing the paving. The paving around the campus will be done starting on July 10th. That's starting from the Horseshoe on Broadway. It'll go all the way down the service road and all the way out to the bus loop along the East Addition. We already have new sidewalks along the East Addition. We'll also do the paving along the West Addition. That'll go from the, basically so that the access from the Sophie Finn or the Ulster County parking lot down into the main campus area. That all paving will start July 10th through the 14th so that we're ready for the Summer 9 program to start on the 17th. And again, we did the stair enclosures on both of the stair towers so that there's a welded wire mesh gate system so that nobody can go above the third floor or the top floor onto the roof area. That's a locked area. We'll be doing the second one of those this Saturday on site for the west. One in the east is already done. So to give you an idea of how beautiful it looks in there and how nice and clean and shiny all the floors are and everything, it looks wonderful. We also got all the locks on the lockers in the East Addition. So again, this is looking down the corridor. So the classrooms have all been cleaned. Projectors, AV, all of that equipment is going in. Science rooms are all set. One of the special ed rooms. The last of the additional marker boards that were requested have been delivered onto the site, and they're also now being installed. Fume hoods, all of the other equipment, all of the plumbing, sinks, gas lines, everything that we need for the science rooms are all set. These are some of the specialty areas where we have the mail rooms and other work rooms. This is one of the work rooms that's attached to the guidance suite office here on the two of the floors. We've put the acoustical wall up around the chiller. That's on the North Addition. You can see the admin office. So the only thing, again, next week we'll start moving in the furniture, all the filing cabinets and desks and stuff like that. Elevators are all set. Not terribly exciting, but we're really happy that they're working. This is the stair enclosure on the East Addition, and then we'll put one up on the West Addition this weekend, this Saturday. Exterior, we're still waiting the Nietzsche, huh? I hope this is the last time I have to say it. We're waiting for the very last delivery to finish the last couple of areas, or just one area actually, and that's due to come in a couple of weeks in early July, so we can finish that up. The contractor just didn't quite order what he needed, unfortunately. All the science rods for the science tables are in, eye wash stations, all of that water's been chlorinated and cleaned up in the both additions at this point. Lockers, this is actually the West Wing lockers. And again, all the bathrooms, partition walls, accessories, baby changing stations, all of that is also currently in place. Oh, and here's our gymnasium. That's a little different look for us. That's the floor gone. And as you can see, they've got protection over the bleachers and everything. Right now, it's not a very pretty sight to go in there, but it won't be too long. It'll look nice. The aluminum sockets around the pool, they put in all of the spray and insulation around the pool socket, and they're putting in the new aluminum panels underneath to clean all of that up. And this is, again, main mechanical. Water pumps, this is the whole system, and now we'll take it from the boiler room out into the classrooms, over, out down the corridors, and then feed them into the classrooms over the summer. It's really exciting to see it all come together. Everybody, I know, everybody's kind of anxious, and we'll be ready for occupancy in the additions. And we have a few things set up for August or so, and then we'll be ready for 9th grade orientation and that type of thing, and staff return whenever Kirk will allow them to come back in. Questions, concerns?
Questions, comments? I have, it might be more for administration. It looks great as usual, thank you, but two things when I saw the field house floor. It's not going to rain on Friday. You know that, right, for graduation, but if it does, we're not going in there.
No.
No, we're doing Saturday morning.
Saturday
We
morning?
don't, we haven't, we were talking about what our options could be, but right now I'm just going with hope as a strategy.
It rains every year anyway.
And then, just in terms of the move, I'm assuming that the teachers that are being moved, they packed up all of their stuff before the school year ended, and then does that fall on Mr. Clapper and staff to move all that stuff in?
Yes, and the teachers and staff did a really good job. They're all packed up. There was a bunch of stuff that was identified as items that we don't use anymore. So currently the library is about 90% broken down. All the shelves are down. Books that are going into the addition for the new library are all boxed up. Books for disposal have been done, and we're moving along. Over in MJM, we've removed sinks, doors, doorknobs, cabinetry, you name it, whatever we could harvest out of that building we took, and all the teachers are ready to go over there. The only thing that's still over there is we have a few folks over in guidance until next week. It's next week or something, they're going to be there. But other than that, and the IT guys have most of the projectors down. On Tuesday night, they're taking the server with all the fiber optics and moving it out of the server room, where we built a new room for them for their server for about 3 or 4 weeks, so that we can keep IT up and running while they renovate that particular room. So we are, and this weekend I have about a staff of about 20 guys going in, and hopefully at the end of the weekend there's no furniture left in the way of the contract. So we're moving.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
I just wondered, other than the Nichiha panels, were there any other unexpected problems?
Truthfully, it was a pretty smooth job. We've had a few little items. There was an issue with the staircase that had to be rebuilt. A few little items outside as far as pitch and drainage and whatnot. But other than that, it went along. And anything, you do. There's little bumps in the roads, but we've got a great team, great design team, and a great team on staff at the school. And truthfully, we have a good bunch of contractors, and we've been working together really well to make sure that this thing really happens.
There was only that, we still do have that one issue with our operable partitions that we're working with Kirk, and again, those are the one thing that maybe, they were supposed to be ready for the start of school this year, and we'll have the track in, the supporting steel is in, everything else, the rooms will be all done, but the actual partition doors themselves, we may not have before school opens, but we'll put them in. I'm hoping it'll work out that we'll hang the doors, say Columbus Day, the first, one of the first days off that we have after school opens. Depends on the time frame of getting them. The lead time right now is about maybe 8-10 weeks.
And how many classrooms does that affect?
That's just the technology rooms, so there's 3.
And one's being used for the library, so the door, it doesn't matter in that one. And then Kurt has been able to, Kurt and Mr. DeSico has been able to use the other space, so we don't need those two classrooms. We can use it as an open classroom.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm very excited and very pleased to hear that the project is moving on timely fashion. And the most important thing that we're under budget, as I understand. And that's pretty much more happy to hear that, and also the community to know that we're doing a good job.
We are too. Sorry, but we are. Anybody else? As always, it's a pleasure. Thank you.
Mr. Bosa and some students who went on the Coast Rica trip were supposed to be here tonight, but due to a death in the family, Mr. Bosa wasn't able to make it. He had asked if he could postpone, so he's going to get back to me and let me know what they can do. So that concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you very much. So, which brings us to the consent agenda. Are there any items, resolutions that trustees would like to pull from the consent agenda at this point?
Is there one on PADA, is that?
BOE88.
BOE88.
We're not, yes.
We're going to pull that.
We're going to pull it out, we'll, yes, consent agenda. Any
Is
others?
that in the consent agenda?
It's in the consent agenda. So we have.
So is it going to be tabled?
Yeah.
Is that my understanding?
Excuse me?
Is that going to be tabled?
Well, you want me to get to
Oh,
it?
yeah.
Yeah, right now, I'm just taking any other resolutions that would like pulled. Any others? Okay. Well, I'll entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda minus BOE 88.
So moved.
Okay, discussion? All right, all those in favor of the consent agenda minus BOE 88, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions. Okay, now I'll entertain a motion we pull BOE 88 and this is not ready yet.
Point of order?
Yes.
I don't think we need to move BOE 88.
We can just table it.
Not even table it, just don't bring it up. We don't move it.
Okay.
If it's not moved and seconded, then there's no discussion on it. Because tabling is really
It's not
not the
ready,
appropriate
yeah.
thing to do with it.
It's not ready, yeah. Okay. All right, so we'll be on the consent agenda. Into committee reports. Yes. Okay, so this week we have teaching and learning committee. Dr. Schultz, we've met.
Teaching and Learning Committee met on May 25th. We spent a lot of time talking about the ENL program, and I am not going to do this justice because I've spent so much time with a great PowerPoint, and I'll do the best I can. Okay. But she talked a lot about how our ENL students are the fastest growing subgroup in our school district, and so there's really an effort to focus on this with the students and work with them. So there's a kind of 3-year plan that the team is working on. In this first year, they've established language proficiency teams at each building. They're made up of ENL teachers, general ed teacher, and an interpreter. They're working on providing professional development that really focuses on separating language needs of students from special education needs of students, and really kind of understanding the differences there. They're doing some training in guided reading for ENL teachers, and in the process of working with curriculum that really accommodates different level of need for different language learners. So that's kind of the focus in year 1, which was really this year.
Yeah.
So in year 2, the focus will continue. We'll really be on implementing the curriculum. There'll be an expansion of the program into Miller, which I guess we're not in Miller right now. Correct. Right. There'll be a focus on pre-K ENL, especially as we figure out for our pre-K in the coming years, and the continued focus on professional development. And in year 3, we will look at developing a UPK ENL curriculum and looking more closely at graduation rates and performance data, and we'll continue the professional development. And there will also be, for next year, a pilot beginning at Chambers that's looking to work with ENL students in kind of a grouping, or maybe it's a grouping as a way to, regrouping as a way to put it better. So there'll be inclusion classes, so combining general ed students and also ENL students, but in a K1 and then 1-2 kind of configuration, so that students can be really fluid in their learning in those classes. And that's a pilot that will happen in Chambers next year. Is that right?
If I can just clarify that, the special education integrated pilot is in a separate classroom. The ENL's classrooms that we're having a pilot are a kindergarten and first grade combination, with half of those students as ENL students, half of them as general ed students. And the first and second grade is the same configuration, just grades 1 and 2 for ENL students. We will be able to provide support into those classrooms, so we won't have to pull them out. So additional services such as speech improvement, if we have that, the space within schedules will be able to do that within that classroom, but the special ed pilot is actually in a separate classroom, so a separate integrated class. So there will not be classified students in with this program unless they're related service.
Right, okay. So it will just be the ENL students and general education students?
ENL and general ed, and the ENL students are grouped by their level so that we can provide the maximum amount of service and actually additional service than we're required.
Okay. Yeah, it's great, and so that's fine starting out next year. Then we moved on to talking about early intervention, and we talked about a similar kind of pilot, or similar kind of program actually that will happen with early intervention. Co-teaching model and co-teaching also for first grade and for second grade, and we'll be utilizing BOCES for different extra special needs or things that students need. We talked a lot about middle school scheduling and kind of redoing some of the scheduling that's happening at the middle school, focus on redoing CSL and rethinking CSL, redoing the schedule in terms of study halls, maybe not having study halls at the end of the day, and also re-looking at the schedule, but I'm promised that it will continue to be a block schedule, right? And then we talked about college prep at the high school, and a focus on support for students applying for college, and how to facilitate that with parents and with students throughout their whole education in their time at KHS. So it was a really full meeting, as they always are. Does anyone want to add anything?
Well, we did discuss a little more about the coaching model and how we have to look at that and see how long classroom teachers should be taken out of the classroom as coaches.
Right. I would like to see that be something that like an ongoing conversation. And I know that our July meeting is actually pretty full with the plans, but maybe that's something we can put on as a primary focus for the next meeting, which I guess will be in September. But really revisiting and rethinking what our teaching model looks like in the district and how to make it more as effective as possible. Right, exactly. Okay, so that's noted.
Thank you.
Any questions? Thank you very much. Brings us to the facilities committee report. Facilities committee met on June 14th, and we got an update on the scheduled summer work at buildings other than Kingston High School from BBL, KSQ, and Mr. Clapper. Among the projects that are going to be done this summer is gym floor for grade school. We had hoped to do more extensive work, but the plan got sent back because it was very expensive. So we have to rethink that. We also talked about tour and ribbon cutting ceremony for the new academic wings at Kingston High School. And August 21st, I think, is the day that the wings open for the teachers to move their, start to set up their classrooms. So Mrs. Heidecker is going to hold a media tour prior to that. We didn't want to get into actually opening it up to the public at that point because we do want to do a celebration. But you heard Ms. Cardenas talked about the problem with the partitions, and that if anything else is not finished up in time, we certainly don't want to be bringing the public through an active construction site. So we're postponing it, and it was Mr. Reinhardt's idea, or at least he agreed to it after we brought it up, that Parents' Night would be a wonderful time to do that, to have a ceremony on Parents' Night when we have hundreds of parents there anyway, and just add a little bit of time at the front to do the ribbon cutting and actually do tours of the completed field house, because the gym floor will be done then, as well as the pool locker rooms, and the bleachers will all be back in place. And anyone who hasn't seen the fitness center to date should really take the opportunity to see that. Plus there'll be then tours of the academic wings, the towers. The freshman orientation, however, when the students come in to pick up their schedules, they will be invited to accompany members of the National Honor Society to go on a tour in the academic wing, so they can see where they're going to go. And correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Reinhardt.
It's true.
That's true. You were looking so concerned, I thought I was really saying something that you weren't expecting. So there will be more to follow. Watch the newspaper, we'll keep everybody posted, and looks like October will be a grand unveiling for the portion of the high school complex that's finished, and there'll be more celebrations to follow. Friends of Historic Kingston, specifically, this is Brett, was getting involved with the committee to select the historical photographs that are going on the timeline in the new lobby when it's built. So they're working on that. The cornerstones have all been preserved, and they're going to be placed somewhere in the building. And we did talk about Mrs. Jordan's idea about grouping plaques when we go into working on the walls in the main building. We also did update progress on the HARP project. It's my understanding CSRH is doing a close look at the plans now, and they'll be getting them ready for submission to State Ed. I'm happy to report this. We agreed, even though the state is not requiring that we do our visual inspections every year any longer, we're still doing it with the facilities committee and the safety committee, because it's well worth doing, and it really has made a difference and impact on the maintenance of the buildings. But the reports, we have so many reports now that instead of the report that just details what the principals have reported, we're going to create just a short summary report and then add links to the other reports that are available. The maintenance, trouble calls, the building maintenance that has been done, the reports that KSQ and BBL offer us, those photographic reports, so there'll be links available online so people can go in and take a look. And still the project icon will be there, and you'll have the reports from the steering committee. And that was pretty much it. Okay, which brings us to the conclusion of the committee reports. Yes?
Question.
Sure.
So several years ago, the board accepted, there was a student, Zoe Sardanis, I believe her last name was, that she was the student who, on 9/11, she was a nursery school student in downtown Manhattan, and was in the playground when the planes hit the towers. And her high school art project was a stainless steel monument that she designed and had fabricated, and the board agreed to put that somewhere.
It was actually January, the first meeting in January 2012, because it was my very first meeting as superintendent, that board accepted that donation. We still have it. We're just searching what to do with it. We've been through with insurance and with Tom Clapperton. There's a attractive nuisance issue around it. There's some situations we have to take care of. It's huge. It's heavy. But we have possession of it in our warehouse. We've been batting around ideas of what to do with it for a while. This is the construction, but we're hoping to come up with something that is, somewhere where we can put it, that we can protect it and protect people from it. So we're still working on it, 6 years later.
Stay fine.
Okay, brings us to old business. Is there any old business any trustee would like to raise at this time? Okay, wonderful. New business, new business any trustee would raise at this time?
This is
Yeah.
just so we have a meeting of the Audit and Finance Committee scheduled for Tuesday, the 27th, and I understand there's an intake meeting with state auditors on that day also. Is that going to be in the morning?
Actually, it's at 10 o'clock.
So I guess we need to postpone the Audit and Finance Committee or reschedule it somehow?
Mrs. Wood is shaking her head no.
No?
Well, it's at 9, that gives us a full hour. You know, but the agenda is that full that we need more than an hour for that meeting. But
We can start at 8:30.
Start at 8:30 and we'll do it anyway?
Okay. Is that okay with that?
Okay. All right.
Shorty?
Thank you very much. Board member announcements. Yes.
I had the good fortune to attend baccalaureate service. It was well attended. It was over at the Rudolph Mount Academy. Well attended. The students did a great job. Make you really proud of our students.
And there's some lovely photographs up on the website. Anybody else have anything else that? Okay. Then we've reached the second opportunity for public participation. If there's anyone who would like to address the board now, please approach the podium, speak directly into the microphone. You have 2 minutes on a conversation. The board clerk will let you know when you're approaching in 2 minutes. No? Okay. Then I would entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved. All those in favor? Aye.